Welcome to r/malicious compliance, where OP gets revenge against his scummy boss. Our next Reddit post is from Common Employee. So this recently happened in my call center type job. My brand new supervisor, promoted for all the wrong reasons, wasn't exactly qualified. I could write a whole post on that, but the gist is that she only got promoted because she was friends with the boss and is always giving him advice on the women he dates. Anyways, we had a Teams chat where we kept each other updated and asked for help with things. Normal procedure was simple. If you stepped away, we would typically just type BRB so everyone would know that you weren't available for calls. We did this for years with no issues. Well, the new supervisor decides that's not good enough. She needs to assert control and dominance. She announces to us in one-on-one conversations that we all had to start giving specific reasons for why we were stepping away. I told her I wasn't really comfortable announcing to the entire team every time I had to use the bathroom. She basically shrugged and said, "It's the rule. We need transparency so I know what everyone's doing." Okay, we've had no issues for years, but whatever she says goes, I guess. The very next time nature called, instead of a boring BRB, I typed BRB, going to go poop in the bathroom. Immediately, she DM'd me in Teams saying that wasn't professional. I reminded her she told us to be specific, and I was just following directions. After that, others started joining in. Some favorites were BRB, going to stand in front of the urinal and do an impression of a water fountain. BRB, gonna blow my nose to try to dislodge this giant booger. Within a week, the supervisor started telling us that we didn't need to be so specific when stepping away from our desks. Like, yeah, we know. Our next Reddit post is from Vague Ambiguous Name. A few years ago, I was hired as a manager to create the contracts department of a tech startup. My boss was on an opposite coast from me, and we barely spoke. About a year in, the company hired consultants to overhaul departments, except for contracts because it was running so smoothly. I was truly proud of this. The company sent me on a paid trip to the Bahamas as a thank you. After I got back from vacation, I asked for a raise to director level. The boss said that I just wasn't there. I asked for a list of what I need to do to become a director. He sent me a list, which was everything I was already doing, and basically admitted that if I was a director, he would no longer be able to take credit for my work. Friends told me I needed to either leave or put up and shut up. Instead, I chose to kill with kindness. I wholeheartedly apologized to my manager for overstepping and said that I'm going to step back into the managerial role. I printed out the manager responsibilities and posted them to my desk. Things went south quicker than I could have imagined. We started missing sales targets. The product team said that my boss agreed to a term in an agreement that would completely destroy their budget and product rollout. I only stepped in once to stop a contract amendment from being approved because my boss was unknowingly letting a VP artificially inflate sales numbers. The controller and the chief financial officer had to get involved. Eventually, the CEO was called in. Stories started circulating about my boss holding stress balls and cursing in meetings. I was more relaxed than ever, and during my newfound free time at work, I studied for and obtained professional certifications. I would also leave work early to get to the gym before it got busy. About a month after I unloaded my added responsibilities, my boss gave me a 7% bonus. It was unspoken, but I could tell he wanted me to take back on the director responsibilities without the title. But I continued to follow the manager description to a T. 6 months later, after taking 10 days of my unlimited paid time off, I was laid off. I took 3 months off and then got another job at a 35% salary increase. While I am happy to be making more money, I truly love that company and the people I worked with. And it's defeating to watch someone continually take credit for your work. Our next Reddit post is from God's Dude. This happened over Black Friday. Back in October, I bought a vacuum from Kohl's online for in-store pickup. It normally sold for around $330, but I paid $250 and got $50 in Kohl's cash, which I used the following week. No issues there. When Black Friday rolled around, I noticed the exact same vacuum was now selling for $150. I reached out to online customer service to see if they could refund the difference since I'd bought it online. They told me they don't do price matching or price adjustments during Black Friday promotions, so nothing they could do. While I was chatting with the rep, I looked up my order and noticed the return window was 90 days, and I was still well within it. I pointed that out and tried using it as leverage, asking if they could just refund the difference instead of dealing with the return. Still a no. At that point, I told the rep that if that was the case, I'd return the used vacuum to Kohl's and just buy it on Amazon instead. They didn't budge. So I did exactly what their policy allowed. I ordered the same vacuum again from Kohl's for $150 with free delivery. That purchase also earned me $30 in Kohl's cash. When it arrived, I took the unopened box to my local Kohl's and returned it using my original $250 receipt from October. I fully expected them to deduct the $50 in Kohl's cash that I'd already spent from the refund, but they didn't. The end result was a $250 refund, $100 saved, plus an extra $30 in Kohl's cash. No rules broken, just followed their policies exactly. Our next Reddit post is from Bill Bids. A few years ago, my job was on an 8-year contract that was nearing its end. I was looking at redundancy, and rather than apply for another job, I worked out that I was financially better off waiting for HR's axe to fall and take the payoff. My boss, however, made other plans, started taking time off, and then left. Admin tasks were being ignored, and gradually the offices were becoming empty as people left. I had a lot of annual leave banked, and I decided to book a holiday because redundancy was likely still months away, and I used the HR system to book 2 weeks off. I informed anyone who would listen, put it in the calendar, and of course, since my boss was now absent, nobody actually approved my leave in the system. I enjoyed my time off and came back to work, and all was okay. As we approached the final weeks of the contract, I had to tidy up loose ends and asked HR about final payments, including any unused holiday entitlement. What I got back was a snide dig about how I hadn't managed my account because I had unapproved leave requests open that needed to be closed. This was the request for the leave that I'd already taken. So I did what I was told and canceled the request, adding another 10 days back into my banked leave allowance, which the HR department then had to pay me for during redundancy. Thank you very much for the time off and the extra cash. Our next Reddit post is from Inside Recess. My field of work has a high turnover and high burnout rate. As a result, my company promotes transparent conversations with staff members to ensure that we're all implementing self-care, taking paid time off as needed, and asking for managerial support when overwhelmed with tasks. Last year, my work began to suffer. I was struggling losing 2 close family members suddenly, and was transparent in my hopes that they would understand why I was withdrawn and had lower productivity. My manager wrote me up as a result of my burnout, citing that I was using our one-on-ones inappropriately, causing stress among the team with my grief, and talking about being burnt out too much. The write-up included every single one-on-one documentation of when I asked for help with burnout. Management instructed me to stop talking about burnout. No problem. I stopped bringing up burnout, being transparent, and asking for support. About 2 months later, I requested a 7-week leave of absence, citing extreme burnout and mental health issues. Management was shocked and angry that I didn't tell them I was struggling or burning out. I handed them a copy of my write-up and said, "The action plan I received stated I couldn't talk about burnout anymore." Management was scolded for inadvertently creating a hostile work environment where staff couldn't ask for support. I got 7 weeks off and partial pay, and they had to cover my job for the entire time I was out. Our next Reddit post is from Icy Computer Poop. I had decided to quit smoking about 30 years ago, and my best friend at the time, John, was clearly jealous about the fact that I could quit and he couldn't. So he kept offering me cigarettes. Every time he would light up a smoke, he'd offer the pack to me, saying, "Want one?" along with a smug little smile. One day, we're standing on his balcony, and he pulls out his deck of smokes. As per routine, he gives me a smug little smile and offers me a smoke. This time, I say yes and take one. His eyebrows lift in surprise, but he reaches into his pocket to grab his lighter. As he hands it to me, I begin tearing the cigarette up, tiny piece by piece, and sprinkling the shredded cigarette off the edge of his balcony. "What the hell?" he says, annoyed. "I thought you said you wanted to smoke." I say, "I did. This is just what I do with them now. By all means, keep offering." He never offered me a smoke again. Our next Reddit post is from Few Jaguar. Once, at a company where I worked as an architect, I used the company's laptop's Photoshop to make my daughter's birthday invitation. It took maybe 10 minutes. My boss saw it in the recent files while we were reviewing a project together and told me the computer was for work only. I just said, okay, because what else was I going to say? The same week, I traveled to another city to survey a building. I did everything with the tape measure and laser the company provided. When I got back, my boss asked me if I'd already downloaded the photos because he wanted to see the inside of the building. I told him I hadn't taken any photos since my phone was personal. He was furious on the inside, but couldn't show it because months earlier I'd asked the company for a work phone and they'd refused. The next day, a brand new Samsung appeared on my desk. And off I went again to the same city to take the photos, with the company paying for flights, hotel, and all the doubled expenses. Our next Reddit post is from Deleted. I travel a lot for work, and my company agreement is that I get a set amount for food every day. I don't have a knack for fancy foods, so I typically just get what I get and tip heavily to maximize the dollar amount. This was never a problem in the past, until my company got acquired and the new company was aggressively cutting costs. Someone from HR emailed me to tell me that I was financially on the hook for tips. I couldn't expense them anymore. So now, I just buy the food that I eat from the grocery store, eat cheaply, and spend the rest on donuts and coffees for all my coworkers everywhere I travel. There's a set budget for food every day. If you're going to be a penny-pinching piece of trash, I'll find ways to spend that money within our agreement to give it to others. Next time, I think I'll feed the homeless. Need I remind my company that I'm doing them a favor by traveling because they don't want to pay full-timers in these areas? Don't be cheap. That was r/malicious compliance, and if you like this content, check out my podcast where I publish the exact same episodes. Also, hit that subscribe button because I put out new Reddit videos every single day.